So when the pandemic first hit back in March, some of the challenges were students having access to the internet, students having access to materials that they were used to having in classroom. The largest concern of all was students that are diverse learners that need that one-on-one support and how they were going to receive that support from being home. The students faced the pressures of their parents not being able to go to work, parents losing their jobs or having reduced income due to the pandemic. So March was very a month of uncertainty, but it was actually also a month of opportunity for us because this was a time where CIS of Chicago, myself, Clay, and other administrators and teachers really needed to take the time to really show that we were all in this together, that we were there to support each other, and that this was really an opportunity for us to see what resources we have and how to be adaptable and flexible if we are not allowed to come to the building to come together.
So how do you, as somebody who's like based in the school and your school community, how do you approach a situation like that? And what did you find that worked to get students re-engaged with their learning?
I think the approach is the same approach that you take when you have a student that comes in your office and are troubled or need assistance with academics, students that are having trouble with coming to school, students that are struggling in general. It's the same approach of what's the problem, what are the solutions, and how do we get to a common ground where we can meet some of the needs of the student at the time. So I think the approach was really just letting everybody know that we were in it together. So being kind-hearted, choosing the right words to say, because some of us didn't understand or know, and it's no different than a student that comes in that's having a troubled day. Sometimes you may not truly understand it because you didn't have a troubled day as such. So it's the same approach of really just showing that empathy to the student and letting them know that you're here for them, looking for different resources to send the parents, different resources for the students, trying to think of ways to keep a normal routine as much as possible, of trying to keep them in the, okay, just wake up daily like you're going to school instead of actually physically coming to school, logging into school. It was really just keeping students in tune of like, how do we be strategic now? Do you have a neighbor that maybe you can use their Wi-Fi signal? Can you walk past the school and use their Wi-Fi to download your work or to gain access? Do you have a cousin, or do you have any family or anyone that your mom or dad trusts where it's safe for you to go so that you can use the internet? Can mom and dad provide you with internet from their phone? Can you use their hotspot? And for situations where students just did not have the answer to having access to the internet, they're making sure that they at least had a packet from the school so that they can stay engaged, and just an opportunity to still do their coursework, but also reminding them to still wake up in the morning, have breakfast in the morning, have lunch, and really start writing out their schedule as if they were in school so that everything could try to stay as normal as possible. You've sat and you've learned all of this material all school year. And maybe there are students that you've worked with before. And throughout the entire time, the ultimate goal, especially for 8th graders, is that you graduate strong, and you get yourself prepared for high school. But what does that look like when you don't have to physically come? And so it's a reminder that this is an opportunity for you to catch up on some of the work that maybe you needed to catch up on. This is an opportunity to figure out the extra push that you're going to have to internally have. And sometimes we talk to students, and we work with students all the time, and we talk about how to self-motivate yourself. And sometimes students don't know how to self-motivate because they're used to saying, oh, I'm just going to go and see Miss Turner, and Miss Turner's going to help me. She's going to walk me through this. She's going to remind me of the goals, and she's going to remind me of what we're working on. And now when you're faced with, I have to internally self-motivate myself, what does that look like? So it's definitely an opportunity to remind the 8th graders of, you cannot run down the hall to Miss Turner's classroom now. So what do you do if I'm on the phone speaking with another student, or I'm on a Zoom call, or I'm unavailable, or if it's the weekend? Like, what tools did you learn? And so I spent a lot of time just reviewing all of my students' goals with them. What were your goals at the beginning of the school year? You said you wanted to graduate from 8th grade. What are the barriers now that you're working remotely that can prevent you from graduating? I reminded a lot of students, like, this is just a time in history where you're going to be able to say, I pushed myself and I can continue to push myself. And this is a time to really show all of the great things that you've learned from working with me and how to use them yourself without me constantly reminding you every day how to motivate yourself, how to stay focused, how to be driven, how to motivate your colleagues. The goals that you set at the beginning of the year do not change because of this situation. It's just an opportunity to push forward and really strive to say, I made it through. It was them at one point not wanting to let me down, but in return, it motivated them. And we'll take whatever win we can get. So it was all about that self-motivation. And I think they are extremely excited that they made it through. All of my eighth graders all of them have responded in one way or another with basically saying, I never thought that I would graduate after all of this. And now that they've graduated, it's like they're prepared for high school. They're prepared for the remote learning aspect of high school, but obviously still anxious to physically come to the school.